Well, in Texas, 50% of all money that goes into educational expenditures is state aid money. Now, 96% of all state aid money that goes directly to local school districts is the minimum foundation program money. And the formula by which they determine how much minimum foundation program money you get does not offset local disparities in local property tax revenues. That's why we say it's the main root of inequity. It doesn't do its job.
And it was that created the Rodriguez case in the Edgewood Independent School District?
That's part of it, yes. In the Rodriguez decision, they said that state aid does not offset these disparities, and consequently, the amount of money spent on a child's education is a function of the wealth of the school district.
Now, what implications does all of this have for the Mexican American?
Well, in Texas, 60% of all Mexican Americans go to school in predominantly Mexican American school districts. And as our report bears out, wealth discrimination, which is part of the Rodriguez decision, is highly correlated with the ethnic and racial composition of the school. If it's poor, it's also Mexican American.
Okay, now what happens if the Rodriguez decision is reversed by the Supreme Court?
Then the state legislature has no obligation to change the minimum foundation program.
Well, what are the obligations of the state right now?
Right now, the federal district court has given the state, I think, until 1973 to devise a new system. However, the decision is on appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Okay, well, if the Rodriguez decision is upheld, what happens to the minimum foundation program?
The state school finance system will have to be revised in such a way that the amount of money that's spent on a child's education has no bearing upon local property wealth, that some other criteria is going to have to determine that.
Then the property taxes will still be used?
Property taxes may still be used, yes.
Okay, will school districts lose local control? That's one of the concerns that have been expressed by this Rodriguez decision.
It all depends on what kind of new school finance system is developed in Texas. As I said, it doesn't necessarily mean that local property taxes may no longer be levied. However, even if the state were to assume full responsibility for raising revenue, there would still be a great deal of control left in the hands of the school districts in determining how they will spend their money on local programs. It means that if the state assumes all the revenue raising function, it means that school districts no longer will have to worry about whether or not they can get voter approval for their tax increase, but can spend more of their time on deciding which educational programs are most benefit to their students.
Is the foundation program the only part of the total system for school finance declared unconstitutional by the court?
The whole system was declared unconstitutional, but I think it pretty much means the minimum foundation program, since it is most of state aid.
What alternatives are being offered?
Well, there have been various alternatives offered or proposed throughout the nation in terms of what criteria you use for determining how much should be spent on a child's education. There's been talk of just equal expenditures. There's been talk of providing state aid based on the educational need of the children. I know in New York State they proposed that the criterion used for determining student needs should be student achievement scores. The lower the achievement, the more money you get from the state.